Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Welcome to you. This is Dr. Duffy Spencer. We are Just Relationships, WHPC. And I am so excited to have as my guest today, Aneesh Chaudhry, who is going to be talking to us about our emotional and mental health now in the time of COVID and hopefully beyond COVID. Aneesh Chaudhry is a brain health coach studying for his PhD in physiology. So welcome, Aneesh.
Thank you so much for having me today, Dr. Duffy.
My pleasure. So Aneesh, how about just giving us your general framework of how you approach wellness in general and wellness in the time of COVID?
So for myself, what I've been really doing is spending time with family and, on a lot of Zoom calls for both business and personal reasons, but really just doing my best to, at baseline, maintain some level of connection and camaraderie to those whom I've been connected with in the past, because maintaining social connection is something that I think we perhaps have taken for granted for so many years. And I think COVID has given us a good opportunity to be able to kind of appreciate just something as simple as being able to have a meal and sitting across from another person, or just being around family. And during the stay-at-home period, it's been extremely important for myself and my clients to maintain connection.
Wow, I love that reframe, Aneesh. I hadn't heard it put quite that way. I mean, I'm a social psychologist, and I'm a psychotherapist, so I'm always talking about social connection. But the idea of that we have taken it for granted. Yes, absolutely. So we'll cherish it even more. We cherish it now, and we'll cherish it even more in the future, I hope.
Yes, definitely. And I know for me, it's to totally, like you use the word reframe. It's totally reframe my perspective on how much of an impact just even going to the grocery store and perhaps even being around strangers has, because that's something we definitely do take for granted because we just are so like tunnel vision and focused on what we have to do. But now we're even going to be able to appreciate and perhaps even say hi to passing strangers out and about in public. So that's could be a
I
whole
do, Aneesh. Do you? Do you say hello to passing strangers now?
I do from time to time, but now I'm definitely going to more often. That's for sure.
Well, I do when I walk or ride the bike in my neighborhood. Okay, in my neighborhood when I take a walk or ride my bike. Yes, but not, sometimes in a public street. I don't go on public streets much right now, but yes, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. How
can we manage, isolation is a social disease, if you will, and there is a difference between introversion and isolation, between solitude and isolation, and many people, healthy people, relish their solitude, but isolation is a whole other thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I work a lot with my clients on is teaching them about the difference between being alone and being lonely. And I think that when you spend time alone with yourself, that's a healthy thing because then it's a time to connect with your feelings and your emotions and what could be going on. Versus when you're lonely, I think there could be more of a negative intention behind that to detach. And I think that's an unhealthy thing. And I think there could be a lot of loneliness coming up for a lot of people during this time, and that's why it is very important to make that connection. So I think it's very important to be able to check in with ourselves and then use a tool that I use a lot and with my clients is journaling and being able to kind of document different emotions that we could be feeling. Because then I think the first step to being able to change that emotional state is having an understanding and awareness of what we're feeling in the present moment.
Absolutely. That's a very handy distinction. The idea of self-connecting. When you're alone, you're self-connecting. Or I like to call it solitude. Whereas the word detach has a very positive connotation for me in terms of Eastern religion. So
Yes.
I'm going to say separate or disengage. And I think ultimately separation with ourselves, which I think of as self-abandonment, so yeah, but we're really talking about the same thing. And so to help people cherish, especially for extroverts, I mean, introverts are more used to in inward time, but extroverts like me, I think I would die on the vine if I couldn't be with other people at all, or even be seen or heard in any shape or form, in person or online.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I agree, absolutely. And I think introverts could perhaps be really enjoying this time, and extroverts, it's putting them very much outside of their comfort zone. Because I think it's good to have a balance of both. I think it's good for
Yes.
introverted and introverts spending time to be extroverted, because I think then it ultimately pushes you outside your comfort zone. And I think that's really where the growth happens.
I agree. And to be an ambivert, right? Both.
Yeah.
Introvert and extrovert. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So tell us what else we can do to be well in general and be well during this COVID crisis, this global pandemic.
Yeah. To be able to acknowledge where they are and kind of, because a lot of times people that are extroverts perhaps may not have identified as extroverts, and perhaps people that are introverts may not have identified themselves as introverts. So I think this is a great time for being able to analyze a lot of our different past tendencies and kind of seeing how perhaps it's an opportunity to set a new standard for ourselves and be like the extroverts that perhaps were always out with people and perhaps maybe over socializing. It gives them a chance to be able to create more balance in that way. And then introverts that perhaps maybe only got out occasionally, this could give them a new appreciation for going out and experiencing, like whether it's just a dinner out with friends or a walk on the beach or, just things of that nature. I mean, I think it's really giving, like on a grand scale, people an opportunity to be able to get deeper in touch with themselves. And it's making a lot of people very uncomfortable too, because it is very disturbing, the nature of what's happening. But I think also we have to be able to remind ourselves that, we will come out on the other end. And I think ultimately how we respond on an individual level is going to ultimately dictate how we bounce back as a collective.
Guilty, Your Honor. As an extrovert, I have over socialized without a doubt, Aneesh, without a doubt, and I am so appreciating not doing it. It's no constant planning with friends and family. Yes, now we're starting to, under different auspices, get together with a 6-foot distance. Absolutely. But yes, that is so true. I love the way you put that we when we're out of our comfort zone, that's where the growth is. So the idea, the new standard that you talk about, Aneesh, what would be your vision? You were saying that we've been experiencing isolation to the extreme. So you think we may go back to center? And the introverts can stretch and the extroverts can stretch. So that marvelous middle, right? That balance, Aneesh?
Yes. I do believe that there is going to be a healthy new norm that comes out of this. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect by any means, but I do believe that it's going to give people an opportunity to be able to reconnect in areas where they haven't connected with different communities, and then also give us a chance to be able to explore different circles and put ourselves out there from a wellness perspective in terms of getting involved with perhaps different people that we wouldn't have gotten involved with before. That way we can experience healthy connection.
Wow, different people. I love that. And I love that expression, healthy new norm. And I know for me that I am connecting with people all over the country that I hardly get to see, maybe once a year. And now it doesn't matter, right, the distance. And you probably communicate internationally. I do as well. My sister had the nerve to move to Ecuador. Um, but basically, yeah, is that experiencing different people from different walks of life even?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. And I know for me, I've met more people these past couple of months than I've seemed to have met most of my life because of the fact that it's from a business standpoint, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I've been able to expand into different networks of people doing all kinds of amazing things and making new connections. And so it's really forced me to step outside my comfort zone, get creative in terms of how I bounce back and respond to a lot of the different challenges that COVID has presented. And so I think even if it's not from a business standpoint, it can be for the average everyday consumer, it can just be as simple as, joining a yoga studio or joining a fitness studio or perhaps joining a
Yes,
support group. There's
exactly.
different emotional issues that people struggle with. But I really, really urge anybody out there listening to please just reach out and because I think so much of what has been the pattern and perhaps leading up to COVID and is competition in so many different areas. And I'm a huge proponent as to collaboration over competition. So I
Yeah.
really, really encourage people to collaborate, even if it's on a personal level, a social level, or a business level. But really, just don't be afraid to reach out and share your story. And because you never know, I mean, you could make a lifelong friend, or a new business opportunity could come your way. And I think that we really deprive ourselves of all the amazing things that can happen if we don't give ourselves that opportunity.
Yes, and it is a whole different cultural paradigm, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I also vote for collaboration. It is a costly thing in terms of time, and so it is not always necessary. But when we want input, we want everyone to buy into the ultimate decision, and we want people to feel counted. Absolutely, and it does take more time. And when it's called for, it's extremely worth it.
Yes.
So the whole idea of people communicating, and Aneesh, could you just give some practical advice to people who want fitness classes or support groups? Let me just preface that with that the 12-step support groups, AA, Overeaters Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Al-Anon, Gamblers Anonymous, you name it, they're all on the web. All you have to do is Google Zoom AA, Zoom OA, Zoom 12-step. Now, tell us about general support groups. Do you know, in case someone is not familiar or interested in the 12-step programs?
I think it really could be is a great place to start, Dr. Duffy, would be if someone isn't maybe suffering from a different type of addiction or something that would be a 12-step support in more of a general way. What I like to recommend to people is just you can simply make a list of different hobbies and interests you have, because a lot of people have more time on their hands now. And so I think being able to reconnect with different hobbies and interests, like let's say you play sports, like let's say you're perhaps, for myself, I played varsity tennis back in high school. So a great place for me to do would just be like joining a tennis club and using that as a way to like bring back old hobbies. So I don't necessarily think it has to be one size fits all, but I think it's really finding something that people can connect to on a deep level that's going to bring them stress relief. It's going to bring them peace, happiness, but then also bring in that community and connection piece in as well. I think is a great piece of advice that everyone can benefit from.
So, Aneesh Chaudhry, wow, you just gave me an idea, great idea. Meetup.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Yes.
imagine that you can go to Meetup now and find all kinds of Zoom meetings for this. It didn't even occur to me. I'm a member already of so many different groups, but I'm sure would you say that would be a good guess that that's available? Meetup on Zoom in general,
100%.
because Meetup has the whole list of hobbies and activities and interests.
You gave me an idea too, because that didn't even come to mind. That's brilliant, because I think in terms of today's landscape, it will give you that virtual playground of different options to be able to choose from in terms of whether it's tennis or whether you say you like to sew and knit clothes. That could be another thing. And Meetup really has such a wide variety of different options. And the beautiful part is now you're not only limited to your hometown, You could perhaps even go and look in like meetups for big cities and then introduce yourself. Like say if you live in the Midwest, you could like look in Los Angeles, and LA probably is just dripping with all different kinds of meetups.
It's amazing. We're not limited to geography anymore.
Yeah.
That's really a silver lining, isn't it, Aneesh?
Yeah. That's very powerful. That's very powerful.
I know you're studying to be a doctor of physiology. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Wonderful. So can I ask you more questions about psychological and social development? I'm just thinking about our various challenges. The economy, okay, the fear of poverty, the anxiety. That's one thing. And of course, the lockdown in marriages or cohabitants. And then I have so many of my clients are single who have been using the internet. And of course, they have an advantage because they're already familiar and they're already talking on the phone. But my single clients tell me, they're really suffering. And of course, people who are cohabitating, who don't know how to get along anyway, are suffering. And then you have people who are parents homeschooling, suffering. And a lot of my clients are teachers who hate the online education, I will say. They find it much more arduous. And then you have people who are lucky enough to be working at home and homeschooling. And then you have people out of work. I mean, there's so much here to cope with, would you say? So I'm just giving you a broad-based question wherever you want to go with this.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a very valuable point. And what's coming up to mind for me right now is the fact that everyone is fighting their own battle in some way, shape, or form. And you just listed several different scenarios that people have been thrown in as a result of just what the global pandemic and COVID has caused. And I believe that the way that we have to be able to respond is to, first and foremost, make wellness and our self-care and our well-being the number one priority at this time. And knowing that there's so many factors beyond our control right now, and really having to accept a lot of very tough things like, my child is being homeschooled. Can I do anything about that? No. So I think really urging people to ask yourself these questions like, okay, I have this problem. Is there anything I can do to change that?
Yes.
No. Yeah. And there's nothing I can do to physically change the fact my child has to be homeschooled. And so that's where you can begin to brainstorm new ideas. Like, say, if you are being homeschooled, spending more time with your kid. And I think it's about, first off, framing it in a positive way and having gratitude for the fact that we have a roof over our head, we have food on the table, we have money in the bank. By God's grace, not everyone has that, but I think that first off, counting our blessings and then being able to take measures to take care of our well-being is important.
That's exactly right. I'll just put it in my own terms because this is what I talk about is how do you get out of the victim mindset? And two things. One is to take proaction, positive action, however small. And the other is to be grateful for what you do have.
Yes.
So, we're saying the same thing. And I just also want to make mention of the Serenity Prayer. Mm-hmm. Not only is that used by 12-step programs, the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is not only for 12-step programs, that is for everyone. That is the basis of stress management.
Yes.
Would you say?
I would say so, because so many of the things we stress out about, we can't control. And then the fact that we try to do things to control them when we can't control them. And that's where the wisdom to be able to, I like to say, selectively differentiate between what we can and cannot control, and then being able to discern and discriminate and take action to change the things we can. Because then when all of a sudden when you come into a position, like, to speak psychologically, the term of radical acceptance, you have to being able to radically accept the fact that there is a pandemic. Can I change that? No. Can I change the fact that unemployment is soaring through the roof? No. What can I control? I can control how I get back out there. And I can analyze, is this career even right for me? So perhaps some of the people that have gotten laid off, this gives them a chance to be able to perhaps even shift fields and shift industries altogether, and being able to see, like, this could be a blessing, because say if you were at a job for 10 years and you were absolutely miserable, and say your stress was through the roof, this gives you a chance to be able to change industries, or perhaps start your own business. And there's so many different ways to put a spin on it, but I think it ultimately is like, comes back to the old saying, we have to look at the glass half full rather than half empty.
Yes, you have a glass half full, and you can imaginatively wipe the slate clean. To be able to look out at the world from behind fresh eyes.
Yes.
Fresh eyes, which is such a difficult thing to do. But of course, we have a historical perspective, and now we don't even have that. We have the good old days, but the COVID historical perspective, everything is still fresh and new. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we don't know the future, and that's very scary for all of us in terms of the unknown. And that's the nature of the beast of life, right? The future is always unknown.
It is. And I think we talk also about anxiety. I think a lot of people use the word anxiety and don't have a clear understanding of what it means. And I think so much anxiety stems from fear. Not so much, all anxiety, I believe, stems from fear. And yes. A lot of why people have that fear is the fear of the unknown, like you mentioned. Right. And I know in my own personal life, I've stressed out so much about kind of what we talked about. And so now I learned to embrace the unknown as a challenge, and using that as an opportunity to be able to create and mold a new future. Have you heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza before?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of his work, and he recently came out with a book called Becoming Supernatural. And a whole essence of that book is being able to seize the present moment in order to be able to break past habits. Because his theory is that, when we have past tendency and past habits, that it's those unaddressed patterns that continue to manifest themselves in the future. And so being able to come in the present moment and really embrace that present moment and learn to love the unknown is going to be the key to being able to write a new future. And that to me was
that's huge. That is so huge. And what is the difference between anxiety and excitement? Right? It is a breath away. Mm-hmm. Instead of the shallow breathing from fear, we move into deep breathing and excitement and exhilaration and what is called eustress, from the word euphoria, right? Good stress, feeling good stress, versus distress from disease, awful. And the body, you would know better than me, literally emits different chemicals based upon the two types of stress. It's extraordinary.
Yes, it is. And you bring up a very, very valid point, because stress, I believe, has a negative connotation, but stress isn't always bad. When people are in that state of eustress, you put stress on your body when you exercise. That's a positive kind of stress, within moderation, of course. But so stress doesn't always have to be bad. And stress is, as you know, just the body's fight or flight response in terms of being able to switch to different states. And I think that learning to utilize that in a positive way through a healthy meditation practice and learning to control the breath is so important for being able to kind of moderate how you navigate through the present moment.
Yeah, you talk about healthy, meditation and one's breath. And for many people, that's still a big mystery.
Yes.
Can you kind of deconstruct that for a moment for us, Aneesh? Just a shorthand version of breathing and meditation, perhaps?
Sure thing. And that's the biggest tool I use with my clients is meditation, because I always preface that meditation is not a religious practice. And I think that there can be a stigma associated with meditation, that it's Eastern or it's Buddhist or it's this or that. And it's not the case. And so the way that I frame meditation with my clients is that I equate it to lifting weights for your brain. Because essentially what it does is it increases blood flow and creates the growth of new brain tissue. And you can do it anytime, anywhere, for no cost. I'm why would you not do something like that? I'm you have to pay for a gym membership. You don't have to pay for a meditation membership. You could simply sit there and close your eyes and just focus on your breath in the present moment and use that as a tool and a practice to being able to condition and control your nervous system. And that's the way that I work with people, is teaching meditation as a tool to ultimately control your stress response. And I have a program I've created called Using Meditation to Conquer Stress. And then it becomes all of a sudden a tool for stress management and for what I like to call brain fitness. Because then...
brain fitness. Beautiful.
Fitness. Mm-hmm.
So, Aneesh Chaudhry, philanthropist and brain health coach, please let us know how we can stay in touch with you and avail ourselves of your wonderful services.
Yes, absolutely. So you can go to my website. It is soulphysiolifestyle.com. That's spelled SOULPHYSIO lifestyle.com. And feel free, if you have any questions, to fill out the contact form, and that comes to me directly, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. And also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook as well.
So Aneesh Chaudhry, Aneesh Chaudhry, Chaudry.
It's Chaudhry. Mm-hmm.
Okay, again, please.
Chaudhry.
Oh, put an H in there.
Yes.
Chaudhry.
That's correct.
And it's not so confusing, your website, after all. If you just, it's soul, right? Mm-hmm. Soul Physio.
Yes.
Lifestyle.com. So soul, SOUL, and physio, PHYSIO, one word. And your program is called Brain Health, you said?
So the main program that we use, it's a mindfulness program and incorporates meditation and journaling. And then really the goal of the program is using meditation to conquer stress. And so it formulates a daily practice to where it can take people on an inward journey to be able to explore what's stressing them out in life, and then use journaling as a tool to create deeper awareness into negative thought patterns that feed into that stress. That way you can begin to use meditation and journaling as a way to clear out those negative thought patterns and be able to ultimately build a life that you've always dreamt of.
Yes, and I would probably change the wording a little bit, using meditation to embrace stress, perhaps. The idea of conquering reminds me of what we've been taught about emotions, to repress them, to control them, rather than understand and embrace them. Well, I want to thank you so much, Aneesh Chaudhry, and I want everyone to know that we are back next week. If you have been interested in this show, tell your friends, because next week we're doing part 2 of healthy brain, healthy body, healthy emotions under COVID. And thank you again, Aneesh Chaudhry. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer wishing you great relationships.